Oh,
Can I go Facebook Live with you?
sure.
Good. Well, it's really an honor to have you here. Keola is, he brought me beautiful music. I am so excited to get all of your great CDs. How many CDs do you have out now, Keola?
Oh gosh, I don't count them anymore, but that's probably in the neighborhood of 30. I really don't know. And then there's collaborations and
Yeah.
other stuff. So
Was the last collaboration the beautiful one you did with Raiatea?
yes,
Was that the last
that's
one?
the last local one. Yeah.
Yeah, the beautiful version of Imagine. I saw you do that live at, that was at the Nahoku Hanahana. You did a
Correct.
song with him,
Right, I
with her.
remember. Yeah.
And aren't you getting recognized again for at Nahoku Hanahana?
No, it's the I'm getting inducted. I almost said indicted, but that's the wrong word. Inducted into the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame on May the 4th.
How wonderful.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Got some friends coming and going to have a good time.
Well, that's wonderful. You just finished up your wonderful music camp that you do over on Kauai, right?
Yes, for many years we've enjoyed that beautiful event. So the thing is, we gather with people from all over the world who want to learn about Hawaiian culture. So they come to study slack key guitar, olelo, hula, crafts, Hawaiian steel guitar, and several other disciplines. And some of them have been with some of my advanced guitar students have been with me for over like 15 years.
How wonderful.
So they play really good. I got to keep ahead of them every year. Got to stay about one bar ahead of them.
Do they come from all around the world?
Yeah, mostly U.S. and then also Europe and Japan.
In Japan now too, right? And it sells out, right?
Every year, yes. Usually sells out a couple hours after we put it online. It's been quite successful.
Which is wonderful. And I love the story, too, when I was talking with Tom Vendetti, how you and him have become good friends, and you went down to Cambodia, and you were at the Angkor Wat Film Festival. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened the last couple of years, but you went down before that and brought ukuleles with you.
The thing was, I'd been down there the year before that with Tom, and, they're still recovering from that terrible cultural trauma of Pol Pot.
Oh, yeah.
And, so some of the communities, one thing I love about traveling with Tom is we really get off the beaten trail, so we're way in the wilds of Cambodia, and some of those communities are really isolated. And so when we were there, I noticed that there was nobody was smiling, and the kids especially, that kind of tore at my heart a little bit because I just felt aloha for them. They were just sad and kind of hiding in the shadows. And I remembered what a beautiful gift music was in my life, and particularly began with ukulele. Here's a simple instrument, user-friendly, 4 strings, easy to play, good for small hands. And, that brought so much joy into my life and also my brother's life. And, we had learned to play so many songs. I mean, hundreds of them. We never really could finish any of them, but we could certainly start them. And it just gave us a lot of buoyancy, a lot of resilience, a lot of joy. We were a poor family, but we didn't even know it.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up on the Big Island mostly.
Oh, Big Island.
Yeah,
Okay.
Waimea, and my later on, when it was time to go to school, I had to go to Oahu because all Beamers went to Kamehameha School.
You have to go
no
there.
debate about that.
What age was that?
I think that was in the 4th grade.
So you were
went
still
to
young.
Boarding school, yeah. And then my mom moved over eventually and taught at Kamehameha, so then
Oh,
I
how
could
wonderful.
be a day student.
Well, you're just speaking it as a wonderful, humble person, but we have to add in here, because it is a factor, the history in your family.
Well, yeah,
I mean, the historical significance of music in your life and your family and the tradition you carry on. It goes back how long? I mean, your mother was
that's a
legend, right?
That's a whole other interview right there.
Yeah, I know. It is.
My great-grandmother was Helen Deshay Beamer, who was well recognized as one of Hawaii's finest composers. Mm-hmm. And then my mother was a cultural treasure. Winona Beamer taught at Kamehameha for 40 years.
40 years, wow.
And was really influential in the new path for Kamehameha schools, which was, involving more schools and less real estate. Long story there.
Yeah.
But, you know, I wanted to finish my story about Cambodia because that ties in with my family. So, you know, the idea was that we could maybe bring some joy to these children if we bought some ukulele.
Right.
In order to do that, we had to, first of all, you know, acquire good quality instruments, right? Then we had to get there with some teachers to teach them how to play. Then we had to teach them or get them familiar, you know, with all the chords and then with some of their songs, right? So the idea was not to go teach them how to play Hawaiian music, but to acculturate the instrument to their culture.
I had never heard that part of the story before. I thought you were teaching them Hawaiian music.
No, it was to get them to generate their own music. So, you know, this is funded by a grant, and we're very grateful for that. And then, you know, when you work with grants, sometimes you sort of have to write a grant report, which reports to the funders, you know, how this went. So our grant report is these beautiful videos that we got back from Cambodia of those kids. This is like, you know, 8 months later, those kids playing in the town square their songs with their language, with their families just in attendance and clapping and joyful. The kids so happy. I mean, it was just an illuminating experience.
So is it a different kind of tuning to play there? Is it? No. How does it work on it? It's still the same tuning?
Yeah, still the same tuning,
but you didn't know their music, so did you have to learn their music?
Yeah, I had to learn a couple pieces. All the teachers did. There were about 5 of us, and so we learned a couple of their pieces, and, you know, they helped us with the language. The kids were just like little sponges, soaking everything up, and then helping each other and forming their own little study groups and everything, so really was, you know, you can't get a better success story than that for that kind of
Very
thing.
heartwarming. But Tom Vendetti did tell me an interesting part of the story. We can't imagine here in Hawaii how little money they live on. Right. And so for them to ever imagine getting something like one of those ukuleles would have been completely out of their dreams are arranged. So it was so valuable that there was a way that it had to kind of be managed and handled so that
was a surprise to me. I hadn't considered that, but when, you know, we got there, the woman, the lady, you know, in the school said, you know, Mr. Beamer, how do you want to handle the ukulele? So I said, well, you know, the idea is we just give them to the kids, let them take them home. And she said, you know, Mr. Beamer, I wouldn't recommend that. And I'm like, why? She said, well, maybe you don't understand, but that one ukulele is worth more than that child's home.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
So if we just give it to the child, the parents are going to sell it and try to build a nicer place, you know. So she said the best thing to do would be leave it with the schools. And that way, you know, additional children could use it and the instrument would be sort of, you know, guarded a little bit. And, you know, I didn't want the instruments to be incentivized, you know, because a lot of musicians were not the best students, you know, so I didn't want her to say, oh, you can have this if you really do, you know, get an A or something. I said, look, you know, whoever wants it, can they have it? She said, absolutely. So,
well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And really, music like that can change the world. I mean, really, in that way. And you were able to really bring some joy into some of these. We can't even imagine what some of these children have grown up with. And still so many getting injured by the mines and by the unexploded ordinances and things that are and their families, a lot of them didn't. There was a whole generation of men. There was a whole generation of many that were completely gone.
Yes.
So, you know, that's a beautiful gift that you could give and offer them, you know.
You know, I mean, how do we make a difference in the world? How do you help cure cultural trauma? You know, the only thing you can do is give it love, give it aloha, you know, do your best. I mean, many streams, you know, many rivers, one ocean, just do your best.
Now, your wife is a treasure in herself, and you perform with her most of the time when you do a show, and she embodies that powerful goddess energy, the true powerful woman that's unafraid to show herself in her aloha. And literally, when you see her, you know, you're there playing the music and so sweet and loving in your presence, and she steps on, is like she has this energy and this presence. It's like, whoa, you just like you feel this energy field from her when she's dancing.
Yeah, she's a beautiful dancer.
And she has the history in her family as well, right?
Right, and also she's a kumuhula, so she's well educated. That's kind of like a cultural PhD, and she very serious about her work, but still, able to laugh and be joyous. Kind of have to have that, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And you do too. And I had a chance to see you on a trip when you were kicking back going to Tahiti. And it was like this. You didn't even bring a musical instrument. You didn't even bring an ukulele. It was like, wow, he's really going to kick back. It's like you took a vacation from your playing.
Yeah.
But you do work very hard, and you've done so many wonderful things and so many CDs, and then you did this. You met Tom Vendetti, you became really good friends.
Right.
How did this collaboration of going to the Himalayas and making music with Tibetan music? It's such an interesting combination. Now, I remember when His Holiness came, not this last time, but the time before last. I don't know if you remember.
Right.
But he actually in Oahu had a meeting, and there were actually people saying, there is similarities in what's happened to the native Hawaiians and to the Tibetan people. And if you think of the colors of the Tibetan people, that maroon and gold, were similar to the royalty of the Hawaiians. Yeah. So it's interesting that somehow you got wrapped up in this interesting combination of going and working with your music and going to Kathmandu in this far regions up in the hills, this beautiful monastery up there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And I think what maybe Tom saw in my work was, I really love native instruments. Mm-hmm. And I also, when we think about Western music and film composition, that kind of work, that's all around written music and Western scale, and it's kind of its own bag,
Yeah.
So when you step out of that world and you're into another world where their nomenclature is completely different, their methods of notation are vastly different, you really have to, first of all, love and respect their instruments, which I just sort of do naturally. It came from Hawaiian instruments, native Hawaiian instruments. And for instance, I was the first person that notated anything for the Hawaiian slack key guitar. Before that, notation didn't exist.
Did that come because of your training with your mother, or through the Kamehameha schools, or how did that come about?
That one was just a lucky happenstance. I was at the University of Hawaii after I got back from college on the mainland, and I was studying Renaissance music, and I came across this string. We formed this Renaissance music quartet, and I was reading lute parts from this ancient, 16th century text stuff, and then a light bulb went off in my head. I don't want to get too technical, but Western music for guitar is written in treble clefs. So when you tune the guitar strings down way low, all these ledger lines start appearing. Really difficult to read. Can't really read it that way.
Yeah.
However, if you can sort of make a picture of the fingerboard, sort of a moving picture of where the fingers go, it works across all tunings. And that's what I was looking at with this 16th century lute tablature.
Interesting.
And then the light bulb went off in my head. Oh my God, this would work for the Hawaiian slack key guitar.
Wow.
Now, I would never, accept any credit for inventing the system, but I was able to kind of see it and then transpose that idea to the Hawaiian slack key guitar, which now, I'm certain will live beyond my lifetime. For a while there, I didn't think it would live for very long because it's so hard to learn.
And the Hawaiian slack key guitar is so beautiful. I saw in the Nahoku nominations there were only 3 people who had actually submitted albums of Hawaiian slack key guitar this year, although there's other categories, but in just the Hawaiian slack key. But you say there's still a worldwide interest.
Right.
Do you think that it's still growing here in the Hawaiian culture? Is there still an interest for Hawaiian slack key guitar? I know ukulele's taken off. Everyone, ukulele. Do you see that same fervor for Hawaiian slack key guitar?
Not really. Mm-hmm. I mean, for a while there, it was really kind of the rage, and remember everybody was calling themselves a master of the Hawaiian slide key guitar. I don't know 30 masters. I know 5.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So that, it's still very much vibrant and alive in the world.
Yeah.
It's just not the sort of, searching for the word, but it's not on that hot streak that it was before.
Well, it's more difficult than ukulele, isn't it?
Oh, way more.
Yeah. And it's more expensive to get a nice guitar
way more
than to have an ukulele.
Yeah, it's a serious commitment.
Yeah. And you started playing when you were how old?
I think about 9 years old.
Oh, at 9.
Yeah,
okay.
we started with the ukulele, so you sort of had, some dexterity built in, and then about 9, your hands are big enough for the guitar.
Mm-hmm. And did you feel that resonance come to you? Did it hit your heart when you started playing the slack key?
Resonance is a good word.
Yeah.
Because what happened to me was I was, again, about 9, 10 years old, and my family was having a party in Nu'uanu, and all my family is all hula people, so just chalangalang music and hula and beer and laughter and joy, and my God, we had so many wonderful parties. But I sort of wandered out the back, and I heard this music way off in the distance, and I walked down by the neighbor's yard, got under a mango tree, and there was this Hawaiian man, sitting, no shirt, sitting on a Wesson oil can, playing the most beautiful guitar music I'd heard in my existence as a young person. It was like silk in the air.
Wow.
And I was just so captivated. I sat down at his feet, and when I did that, I made a rustling sound in the dirt.
Uh-huh.
Then I could feel him look at me, and he was really studying my face, and I thought, that's kind of a little odd. And then he just stopped playing and turned his back, and that was it.
Wow.
And I really, I felt hurt, and I ran back home, and I talked to my mom. I said, Mom, what did I do? What did I do wrong? She said, Keola, you didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't know you. You weren't part of his family. Uh-huh. And that's the kind of music, you got to be part of the person's family in order to learn it. Because all the tunings were secret, and all the techniques were completely secret. So it was passed on from father to son.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like your own dialect.
Well, because Hawaiians had lost so much, they lost their religious system, they lost their lands. It seemed like every time they opened up their hearts to somebody, stuff would get stolen, and so
true.
Started getting protected.
Yeah, a good point.
Yeah, and so that made it difficult to learn. You couldn't, study with anybody. You couldn't read get a book. Some of the old guys that I loved and had an opportunity to study with and work with, for instance, Ray Kane, he found somebody down at the beach who just played beautiful slack key, and he would just bring him fish, and he'd spear fish and bring him fish, and eventually enough fish, he got to learn how to play.
Well, I need to talk about this wonderful combination that's going to be happening on April 28th at 3 o'clock at the Mc Coy. You've played, I know, with some of Tom's events quite a few times there. I've seen some beautiful performances in the Castle and the Mc Coy.
Sure.
But in this particular situation with Nawang playing flute, there's going to be his movie, and then there's also going to be another movie called Supermonk. How do you weave it all together? I mean, because I know there's this beautiful flow that happens with music, but how do you envision the combination of playing together happening within all the context of what's going on?
Well, first of all, I'm a guest artist, so the event really is Nawang's event, and so I'm there to support him. I mean, I've had some wonderful experience working with flute players. For instance, R. Carlos Nakai is a wonderful friend of mine.
He's wonderful.
We've toured together all across the U.S. And Paul Horn's music from my association with Dr. Tom Vendetti has also been a wonderful influence. So it's kind of, it's his work. So I'm just there to, play a few songs, introduce him, play a couple songs together, something like that, just to kind of bring him into our Maui Ohana.
That's wonderful. Did you happen to see that movie that Yo-Yo Ma did a couple of years ago? We got a group of musicians from all different places all around the world, and they just sat down and played together, did a little bit, nothing written down, and they just played. Did you happen to see that?
Very inspiring, yes. And I love his work. And see, that's the thing about music, is it transcends cultures. And that's why that project in Nepal that we recorded for Tom's film, I did a score in Kathmandu, That's how come that worked. You don't need the English language. You just need to understand music and have some sort of understanding of the tonality of their instruments, the range, how they work together, and then that's how I created that score. But
and you were very honest to the roots of that sound.
That's essential. That's
you didn't
essential.
Try to change it to yours.
Because no. In fact, that's probably the most diverse work I've ever done in terms of the guitar. I use the guitar just very rarely, just kind of like modal kind of drone kind of stuff, just to fit into their music. But it was their sort of stylistic, beautiful, melodic canvas that lit up that score.
And I have to give a little hint. I can't talk too much about it, but I know we got together and we're talking with Dr. Tom, and he said, I've got this music from the soundtrack, and I think it'd be worth putting out as a CD. And he asked my opinion, and he asked your opinion. We both said, yeah.
Well, I hadn't really thought about it, and then we had dinner one night, and he gave me that, sort of idea, those songs together. And I listened to it on the way home with my wife in the car, and it sounded good. I'd love to hear it again. So.
And I think it shows that possibility. The united energy of music that crosses all borders is so powerful and so nice. And, there's the term world music, but gosh, I don't even know if it really even fits in those confines, because when you do get together and you're going beyond a language in the music, it's really a language of its own. It's not any language you could ever translate.
Right.
It's really soul to soul. It's your heart to heart,
Right.
And that's when any really good magical music happens, is when you're just present there with the other person and you allow the door to open for things to happen, right?
You are far wiser than I thought. Just kidding. No, that's exactly right.
Thank you.
Exactly right.
Well, you see, I love music. I mean, all my life I've loved music, and that's why I have so much respect for you as a musician. You're considered one of the finest, and I never see any ego on your part. And you just do it for the love of the music, and then these interesting things happen. I mean, who could have ever... you never would have guessed that you'd be playing and sitting down with the Tibetan flute master.
Right.
I mean, who would have ever guessed that's possible? Here on Maui, that Tibetan flautist and you will get together, and then magic happens, and that's the kind of thing I love, You can't script that out. You can't write down what's going to happen, because... if you do, you lose the magic, right?
Yeah, and half the time you're not really sure what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, it's sort of I had dinner with Paul Simon a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the flow of music. I mean, he wrote some of his best songs when he was 22 years old. Sound of Silence, he wrote that when he was 22.
It's an amazing song.
OMG. Yeah. But there's this unexplainable thing about the flow of music. We can't really describe those things in words, because words are crude tools.
Yes,
that's why
thank you.
Musicians are musicians, right?
Thank you. No, you're so right. Yeah. And I do spoken word because I write, and I wish I could sing or play a good musical instrument, but my tool is only words. And so you fall back on the sound of the words. It's not really the words. It's the energy behind the words. Just like when you play, it's your energy behind your music that's really making the music ring, right? And touch people. Right. And that's a hard thing to even teach. So when you're teaching these, I only have a minute more left to talk. I want to talk. Well, I'm going to put the Facebook Live. I could talk to you for hours, and I really am very, very happy you brought up that. I wasn't going to bring up Paul Simon, but just in honor of you.
Oh.
I mean, he found you.
Yeah,
you didn't go searching him out. Right. He found you and reached out and said, again, that language of music somehow was able to just let's sit down and play music, right?
Transcends all kind of stuff.
And folks, we have to treasure and cherish the moments we have of great music.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of us are moving on. Unfortunately, as we get to a certain point, you go, oh my gosh, that one, that one's not, wait a second, that person's gone. And I'm not saying you're going to go, but you do learn as you get older. that we are very blessed to be able to enjoy the great musical moments. And we look back on our life and we think, oh, when I got to see that, or when I got to see that, or get to be there. And so I want to encourage people to get tickets to see Nawang Khechog. You're going to love him. And Keola Beamer will be there. There'll also be a movie, Supermonk, and there'll be Nawang's new movie, Sound of Tibetan Peace. And magic will happen. It's at 3 o'clock, not this Sunday after next. It's a limited space, so get your tickets. Please get your tickets, because you don't want to miss this one. Call 242-SHOW or go to mauiarts.org. And believe me, you will be glad that you did. There's going to be a lot of wonderful people there just going, oh, I'm so glad I'm at this event. I'll be there. You'll be there. A lot of our Tibetan friends will be there from the Dharma Center as well. So thanks so much for being here, Keola.
Thank you, Cindy. Aloha.
Aloha.